Andrés Muschietti's It Chapter 2 wraps up the events of the 2017 box office smash It. At nearly 3 hours long, it provides plenty of scares and one hilarious performance from Bill Hader. But did you spot these references to other Stephen King adaptations or callbacks to the first film? And yes, spoilers are coming. The movie is set in 2016, 27 years after the events of the first film. The book It by Stephen King is set in 1958 and 1985, so there was some deviation from the original novel. The movie opens with the homophobic attack on Adrian. This is featured in the novel, but not in the 1990 miniseries. King based the event on the real-life 1984 murder of Charlie Howard, a gay man attacked and thrown from the State Street Bridge in Bangor, Maine. Early in the film, we're introduced to the now adult Bill Denborough on the set of the adaptation of his book Attic Room. The director of Attic Room is Peter Bogdanovich, the director of The Last Picture Show, a King connection. The author makes repeated references to The Last Picture Show in his novel Lisa's Story, as character Scott Landon frequently watches the film. Bill also talks about sliding under the stage door like Indiana Jones. Bill's Beverly lookalike wife in this scene is played by Jessica Chastain's real-life BFF, Jess Wixler. When now adult Beverly is reunited with Mike and Ben, we can see the scars on her arm from her abusive husband Tom Rogan. Beverly goes to visit her childhood home. It's inhabited by Mrs. Kirsch, as the name on the door changes briefly from Marsh to Kirsch. King named the character Mrs. Kirsch after Irvin Kershner, the director of The Empire Strikes Back. The 1980 movie was shot in the same studio at the same time as The Shining, and King even visited the set. Something not really featured in the 2017 film is Beverly's nightmares about Hansel and Gretel. Mrs. Kirsch is reminiscent of the witch in the Germanic folk story, making a comment about the hot oven and welcoming Beverly inside for tea, just like the children in the fairy tale are welcomed in for sweets. There are a few Pennywise clues before Mrs. Kirsch transforms into the villain. The actress who plays Mrs. Kirsch, Joan Gregson, is no stranger to King's work, having starred in ABC's Storm of the Century in 1999. We see shop exteriors of the town of Derry, some of which are named after real-life places in Port Hope, Ontario, where the movie was filmed. There is a real-life Queenie's bake shop. Fun fact, Queenie was also the name of King's childhood dog. Inside Derry's secure institution, a cartoon is playing on the TV. This cartoon is Tom and Jerry, The Truce Hurts, depicting a stake falling into a sewer. The stake floats away, just like Georgie's boat in It. The movie includes lots of flashbacks and locations the character saw decades ago, so there are a lot of 80s references throughout. The losers return to their underground clubhouse. In a flashback scene, we get a few 80s references. Cameo's 1986 hit Word Up is playing. There's a poster for the 1987 movie The Lost Boys, and one of Michael J. Fox from his 1987 cover of Rolling Stone. Richie revisits the arcade where he had played Street Fighter, the classic 1980s game. On the wall behind him is a poster for 1998's You've Got Mail. This is the second time Meg Ryan pops up in the movie. As you might recall in the opening scenes, Adrian shouts to the bullies, Meg Ryan called, she wants her wig back. Ben hides in a locker from Pennywise. Behind him on the locker wall, we see a poster of Danny from New Kids on the Block. Here's where we also get a direct quote from the 1990 miniseries.
Kiss me, fat boy.
The turtle from the books pops up in several places in the movie. There's a drawing of a turtle on the desk in Ben's classroom, a statue of one outside Ben's house, and also an engraving of one on the door to Pennywise's lair. King makes a cameo in the movie, much like he has done in other adaptations of his work. This time, he's an antiques dealer wearing a Neil Young t-shirt. An old license plate near the counter is the CQB 241 licence on the 1958 Plymouth Fury in 1983's Christine. In the It novel, Henry Bowers escapes from the asylum in a cherry red 1958 Plymouth Fury. King makes a joke at his own expense. Bill asks King's character if he wants him to sign the book that he's reading, to which King replies no, as the ending was bad. The book's cover has all the visual hallmarks of a King novel. This parallel between criticisms of King's work and Bill's books having bad endings crops up a few times in the movie. The store Secondhand Rose is the same from the novel and 1994's Insomnia. Secondhand Rose, secondhand clothes. Speaking of cameos, look out for Andrés Muschietti as a customer in the drugstore when Eddie goes to pick up his prescription. Eddie's wife, Myra Kasbrak, is played by the same actress who played his mother, Sonia. Guess he never really escaped his mom after all. One of adult Ben's boardroom colleagues is none other than Brandon Crane, who played the kid Ben in the 1990 miniseries. In a scene where Bill runs through a fairground funhouse, the swinging clowns he run past are dressed up just like Tim Curry's 1990 version of Pennywise. As the gang battles Pennywise, he turns into a monster reminiscent of the spider-legged alien in 1982's The Thing. This time it's young Stanley's head, with arachnid legs growing out of it. This is accompanied by a quote from The Thing.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
When Beverly struggles for air in the blood-soaked toilet cubicle, a variety of faces try to edge through the door. One of them says, "Here's Johnny," in reference to The Shining. Another 1980s movie, 1989's Nightmare on Elm Street 5, is playing in the movie theatre in the closing shots. In It Chapter 2, the defeat of Pennywise is almost like a late series Freddy Krueger movie, surreal and CGI heavy. Bill receives a phone call from Mike at the end of the movie. In these scenes, he's reading a copy of A History of Old Derry by Branson Budinger. You may recall this book from the first movie as the one Ben reads in Derry Library. In fact, the room Bill is in looks quite similar to the office in the final scene of Stand By Me, where Richard Dreyfuss, as the writer, types the movie's final scenes into his computer. Did you spot anything else? Comment below.